the paradox of the unattainable embrace. Therein lies our tale today. Why avoidants sabotage good relationships. Imagine, if you will, a dance between two partners, one reaching out with open arms, whilst the other steps back, retreating into an invisible shell. It's a dance as old as time, and yet one that many still find themselves unwitting participants in. Picture, if you may, a gentleman named Edward. Edward is charming, articulate, with a penchant for the finer things in life. Yet beneath his polished exterior lies a complicated web of emotions woven with the silken threads of avoidance. Edward's life is a testament to the strange, self-defeating art of sabotaging his own happiness. He meets Clara, a delightful woman whose warmth could melt the iciest of hearts. They connect, their conversations flowing like a gentle stream, and for a moment, it seems Edward has found the companionship he never knew he craved. But here's the rub. Edward, like many avoidants, is caught in a conflict of desires. On one hand, the allure of connection calls to him like a siren's song. On the other, the spectre of vulnerability looms large, casting shadows on his heart. You see, avoidance is often born from a fear of intimacy, a fear of being seen too closely, too clearly. It's the dance of wanting to be loved, yet fearing the very love that is offered. It is this fear that whispers into Edward's ear, urging him to pull away just as Clara steps closer. And so, in the grand theatre of relationships, Edward becomes the architect of his own solitude. He starts to find fault in Clara, small imperfections magnified under the lens of his anxiety. Her laughter, once a sweet melody, now grates on his nerves. Her affection, once a balm to his soul, feels suffocating. This is the avoidance tactic, to erect walls where none are needed, to create distance in the face of closeness. But why, you may ask, would one sabotage something so inherently good? Therein lies the crux of human complexity. It is in the nature of the avoidant to crave autonomy, to value independence above all else. This is not mere stubbornness, but a deeply ingrained mechanism of self-preservation. For Edward, maintaining control means maintaining safety. To let someone in is to risk being hurt, to risk the unpredictable chaos of emotional entanglement. Let us not forget the roots of Edward's behavior. Often such patterns are sown in the fertile ground of childhood. Perhaps Edward grew up in a household where affection was scarce, where vulnerability was met with judgment or neglect. These early experiences carve deep grooves in the psyche, shaping how one views relationships and intimacy. The avoidant learns to rely on themselves, building a fortress of solitude to guard against the pain of unmet needs. As Edward stands at the precipice of what could be a deep and meaningful relationship with Clara, he finds himself pulling back, retreating into the familiar comfort of distance. Clara, bewildered by his sudden coldness, reaches out, trying to bridge the chasm that has inexplicably opened between them. Yet Edward remains steadfast in his retreat, his actions a silent testament to his inner turmoil. It is a tragic irony, is it not? To long for connection, yet to flee from it when it is within reach. The avoidance sabotage is not a reflection of the partner's inadequacy, but rather a manifestation of their own internal struggle. It's as though they are trapped in a labyrinth of their own making, unable to find the exit, even as they yearn for it. In the end, Edward's story is one of missed opportunities and unspoken regrets. Clara, unable to understand his retreat, eventually walks away, leaving Edward alone with his thoughts and his solitude. It is only then, in the quiet aftermath, that he begins to understand the cost of his avoidance. The realization dawns upon him like the first light of dawn. The very fear of being hurt has led him to hurt himself, to deny himself the joy that could have been. And so, dear listener, as we unravel the intricacies of why avoidance sabotage good relationships, let us remember that this dance is not one of malice, but of fear. Fear of losing one's self in the embrace of another, fear of being seen and perhaps found wanting. It is a reminder that the heart, though resilient, is also fragile, and that the path to intimacy is not always a straight line, but a winding road fraught with obstacles. As we leave Edward to ponder his choices, let us also ponder our own. For in understanding the avoidance plight, we catch a glimpse of our own vulnerabilities, our own fears. We are all, in our own ways, dancers in the same grand ballet, seeking connection while navigating the delicate balance between autonomy and intimacy. And so, the question lingers: how do we break the cycle? How do we, like Edward, learn to embrace the love that is offered without fear? Perhaps the answer lies in the simple act of vulnerability, in the courage to step out of the shadows and into the light of connection. For in that light, we find not only each other but also ourselves, whole and unguarded, ready to dance a new dance.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.